Bonjour mesdames et messieurs, this is part 2 of my beginner's guide to landscape photography. Bonjour mesdames et messieurs, my name is Serge, Ramelli, French photographer from the amazing city of Paris, living in California. And last Tuesday I showed you a photo shoot that I did, all the bad and good photos of the wildflowers in California and how to just develop your file to get a more natural result. But to be honest, I was not really happy with the sunset there. We stayed hours and hours waiting for the sunset and it came out to nothing. Of course, usually what I do is I come back over and over to get it right in the camera, but I just want to show you something fun. Let's say you did take some landscape and you have Lightroom and you have Photoshop and you're like, that sunset was not right. I want to get a right sunset. Well, what if there was a software that could help you do that? And that's called Photoshop. So this is one of the photos that I really liked from last week. And again, you know, the sky was kind of whatever. And so I'm gonna develop it in the idea of changing the sky. And it's a very specific develop in Lightroom you do first, and then you go into Photoshop and change the sky. So I'm gonna open up the shadows. I'm gonna boost my white. Now what you wanna do is when you replace the sky, because and that's what I recommend, there's many other ways you can use like blend if options and other thing, but this is a beginner's tutorial and I wanna make it simple for you. And honestly, that's the way I do it all the time. So I'm just gonna boost the highlights to make the sky really bright. I'm gonna boost the overall exposure. I'm gonna still maintain some kind of black point, very light. So black point is what you see here in yellow. If you see some yellow, see some black, it means that these dots are 100% black. So the photo is quite sort of burnt out. That's what you want. I don't wanna add contrast. Now I do wanna give it an evening feeling. So I'm gonna go to shade as a white balance. And I'm gonna add quite some magenta because I want the whole photo to have a bit of an evening feeling, okay? Now, I'm gonna right click, edit, and open in Adobe Photoshop CC 2019. So here we are in Photoshop and we are ready to do the magic. So here in my library module, and because I'm a Creative Cloud member, I have this option. If not, I'm just gonna give you the sky. You can just drag and drop it in your photo. From the Finder, from wherever. Here I have a whole bunch of sky. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drag and drop the right sky. Be careful to use the right sky for the right photo. So in this photo, for example, the sun was setting here, but it was kind of invisible, right? Because there was so much clouds. So I'm looking for a photo that has a sun in the middle and that's kind of good looking. I do a whole lot of collection of sunset. It happens that I have this one, which I think will match pretty good. Okay, I'm just gonna drag and drop it. And so you can download that sky. The link is under the video and you can just drag and drop it into your Photoshop. Okay, the next thing that I do is I position it where the sun was. The sun was, I think, exactly here. I'm gonna make it bigger. So when you move one of these handles, what happens is that it moves with the same ratio the whole photo. The thing is, the problem with that, if I do it too much, then this whole sky is becoming a little too big to me. So you can stretch it a little bit. Let me show what I mean. I'm gonna make it smaller, position it here. And if I hold on the Shift key on my keyboard and move the right side, watch what happens. It's gonna stretch the right side. Okay, it's perfect, I'm done, I'm happy, I changed the sky. Looks awesome, right? No, just kidding. So I go back on the layers and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drag and drop that layer onto this icon, which is gonna make a copy. Then I'm gonna use the most used keyboard shortcut in the history of Photoshop, Command T on a Mac or Control T on a keyboard. So here we go. And now I can right click, flip vertical, hold on the Shift key so your sky doesn't go left or right, and you drag it until it mirrors completely the other sky and you press enter. So now you got both skies completely mirrored, okay? You can zoom in to make sure the mirroring is perfect because sometimes you'll see a line that actually disappears. But see, I still see a line. So if you see a line, you use the move tool and then with the arrows on your keyboard, you can go up and down and just make sure it's perfectly matching. Okay, I'm gonna zoom out. All right, so I'm kind of happy with that. And now I'm gonna select both layers. I'm gonna right click and I'm going to merge layer. Okay, so it's going to create one layer with this on. And now here comes the magic in 2 steps. Step number 1, put this into multiply mode. And It's pretty good, but we got a couple of issues. First, we can see some of the clouds from the prior sky still there. And then we can see here, some of the clouds don't blend well in the flowers. What can we do about that? Well, let me show you. First of all, I'm gonna go here, take that sky out, and I'm gonna go on the original photo, and I want to make this white. Because if my sky is completely white, then blending in multiply will make it much easier. So I'm gonna press O for the burn tool. Now the burn tool, which is here, the dodge tool. I'm looking for the dodge tool. Burn and dodge, burn and dodge. So burn makes things darker and dodge makes things brighter. So I'm going to take the dodge tool. I'm going to make sure it's on mid-tone and I'm just going to brush on the sky. And what that's going to do is take anything which is in the mid-tones, so in a grayish, not completely bright, not completely dark, and just make it brighter. Okay, so I start by the mid-tones and I take all my mid-tones and I make them brighter, and I just do that on the sky. But you can see, we can still see some of the shape of the old clouds. I want to replace these clouds. So once you've done that, you can use like a value of 50. I'm going to go into the highlights. And I'm going to take the highlights, I'm going to take these mid-tones that are now highlights, and I'm just going to make them so bright that they just become pure white. And I'm going to do that for the entire sky here. Okay, and you just brush and brush over until your sky is white. And so now if I put back my sky, it looks much more clean. But we still have the issue of the flowers being blended with some of the clouds. What could we do about that? Very simple. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go in the quick select tool, which is here, and I'm just going to brush my sky. And that's going to make a selection of the sky. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to invert that selection by going to select, inverse, sorry. So now I have a selection of the land. It's everything but the land. I'm going to go on my layer where the sky is, activate it, and then I'm going to go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And I'm going to do a very strong Gaussian blur, very, until this whole cloud thing seems to be disappearing or less visible. Check it out. Before, look at this, before, after. Do it again, before, after. Basically what that did, I'm going to press OK, is made the whole bottom part so blurry that it just is one shade of color. And so all the contrast from the sky and all the details from the sky now disappeared. And all we get is the color cast. Command D to stop my selection. Check this out. If I put this into normal mode, you can see we've got the clouds here on top and the rest of the photo is just a big blur. And that's exactly what I want. Okay? But to make this even more realistic, I'm just going to click here to create a mask. Take B for brush, B for brush. I'm going to make my brush, B for brush. I'm going to make my brush with Control and Alt big or small. So you just hold on Control and Alt, 2 keyboard shortcut, and use left click on your mouse and go right and left, and that's going to make your brush bigger or smaller. Make sure that the opacity of the brush is 20% and that the foreground color is black. And now I can, basically what I do by doing this, Command Z, so that's a big mistake, but I'm leaving this on the video. You gotta click on the mask first. If you don't click on the mask, you're putting basically black on your photo, which was what I was doing. That happens to me all the time, so I'm guessing it's gonna happen to you too. And now I'm just gonna brush here on the land. It's gonna erase some of that blending. It's just gonna make the flowers actually more bright, which is kind of what I want. And it's just gonna make the whole photo awesome. Okay, last but not least, and you don't have to do this step, I want to add some kind of sun there. So I'm going to go back to my library, and it happens that I have a whole collection of flare and glows. And I want a nice flare and glow that I can use for the sun. Maybe something like that. Yes. And I'm just going to put it where the sun is, make it smaller. Remember, you can just drag and drop, make it where the sun is. And I'm done. Just kidding. I'm going to go to layer, and I'm going to put this into, this time, not multiply, but screen. What screen is going to do is going to make everything which is black transparent. Okay, and now that's pretty good. I kind of like that. It's a little too strong. Oops. It's a little too strong. So I'm going to put a mask, and then I'm going to use my brush here, put the opacity 100%, and I'm just going to erase that effect there. I just want it behind the mountain and not in front of the mountain. You know, and then you can zoom in to be very precise. B for brush. Usually what I like to do is put the harness around 80%. And I'm just, Command Z, I'm gonna press X. So white as a foreground at 100%. And I'm just gonna make sure it's all here. Okay, and then X, and that it's all not here. Okay, so it's behind the mountain. Okay, and then here, X. You just press X if you did a mistake. And voila, I don't mind keeping some of the flare. This one is a little, that flare is a little too big to me. So I'm gonna press X, go back to a very soft brush with harness at 0. And then just, I'm gonna go like to about 32%. So remember, black conceals, white reveal. Black conceals, white reveal. When you're on a mask, when you paint with black, you're basically erasing some of the stuff that's going on that mask. So I just want to erase a little bit of that flare. I'm saying it's a little too much. Okay, and I just added a little bit back of some of the sky here. Before, after, before, after. Yeah, it's kind of cool. I think I want to, there's no spillover and I think it doesn't look real. So you know what, I'm just gonna go here, press X, just add a little bit of spillover. Okay. Oops, I did some kind of mistake here. So I'm gonna press X again and just erase that. Yeah, just a little time. And I think it's too white. So what you can do is on that sun, I can go here and I'm going to go to hue and saturation. Okay, hue and saturation, I'm gonna press this little icon here so that this only influences the layer that's just below, which is where I have the sun. I'm gonna click on colorize, and I think I'm gonna go for like a very yellow color and add a lot of saturation. Not so much, but just a little bit of yellow like this. Yeah, doesn't really make a huge difference. Check it out, before, after. Yeah, it doesn't make a difference. You know what, I'm just good. When you do something that doesn't make a difference, just get rid of it. Okay, so, but I'm kind of happy with that. I'm gonna go now, File and Close. And that's gonna basically, and save it, and that's gonna re-import it into Lightroom. And now I go back into Lightroom to do what I call a double development. Okay, so I'm back into Lightroom. And the double development is going to be very easy. I'm just going to open up the shadows, bring down the highlights. It's going to bring back more contrast. I'm going to redo my black point. Okay. And I'm going to redo my white point. And then I'm going to do my sharpening. In case you didn't see last week's episode, maybe add some more contrast, make it a bit brighter. Yeah, I just want to add some sharpening to this photo. So I'm going to zoom in 100%. And last week I was saying I have this formula which is 10 of noise reduction and 90 of sharpening on the photo that was taken at 100 ISO, which was the case for this one, and then the masking around 50. Just gonna make a really good sharp photo, and voila. I hope this beginner guide to landscape can help you between the Lightroom and the Photoshop stuff. I urge you to go out, this planet is beautiful, take some great photos, use these techniques and you will see this is going to take your photos to the next level. Also, don't forget to view last week's episode. In last week's episode, just click here. I showed you how I took the photos and a much more natural type of retouching. All right, mesdames et messieurs, see you in my next video.